My grandpa, who I really love, lives in Los Angeles, okay? He always teases us because we're more religious. He says that the only thing that makes him Jewish is the fact that his mother is Jewish. He always says that he doesn't believe in God. He always says that he doesn't believe in any religion. The fact that he's Jewish doesn't mean anything to him. After he divorced my grandma, he married someone who's not Jewish. But he still comes here, we're very close with him. And every time he comes here, my father used to make a point of taking him to the kotel. I remember as a little child going with my grandpa, and he's a very funny guy. And we're walking to the kotel, and he says to me, "Oh, again, we have to visit those rocks again?" And I remember as a kid always wondering how come someone would be Jewish, and my grandpa I look up to, but not feel anything when he comes to the kotel. That's how years went on. Every time I remember we would go, and every time the same joke. He says, "Oh, here are the rocks." Probably missed me. I didn't see them for a long time. Until once he read an article. And in that article they told a story about one of those cattle cars, you know, that went to the death camps in Poland. And they found in one of those cattle cars a writing that someone wrote just before he probably was killed by the Germans. And he scraped this with his own fingernails on the cart. And what he says is that if anyone gets this message, he only has one wish before he's killed. And his wish is for someone to say Kaddish in his memory in the kotel. So my grandfather, who has nothing to do with Judaism at all, next time he comes to Israel, we're used to the same, jokes. Why do we have to go to the kotel? This time, he gets off the plane and he has tears in his eyes. And I remember being shocked. It's the first and only time I saw my grandpa with tears. I look at him and I say, "Well, what's the story?" And he says, "I need to go to the kotel." And I thought it was a joke. Like, okay, why? The rocks miss you. He says, "No, please take me to the kotel." And we drive to the kotel, and I remember my father being more surprised than I. And we're walking to the kotel, and he starts crying, like really sobbing. And he goes up to the kotel, and he says, "I never said Kaddish. I never even said Kaddish for my own father. I never believed in it. But now, after reading the story about this man who was killed in the Holocaust, I feel like I have to say Kaddish." We give him a siddur. We try to explain, never read Hebrew in his life. We try to help him out with the Kaddish. And after that, he says to me, "I'm not more religious. The fact that you saw me now crying and saying Kaddish doesn't mean that I feel more connected to the Jewish religion." But I understood something very important. I understood that the kotel isn't only about religion. It's about the Jewish people, as a nation. I understood that if my forefathers in Poland, in Russia, in Africa, Yemen, doesn't matter where around the world, they always used to have a little picture in the wall with a drawing or painting of the kotel. And this was something they always cared about. They always dreamt maybe they'll have the opportunity to come back to Israel, to the home of the Jewish people, and create a life of a Jewish nation. And he said that's what I understood when I read this article about this Holocaust victim. I understood that in order to connect to the kotel, you don't have to be religious at all. You have to understand that we as the Jewish people have so much in common, and in order to continue the history of the Jewish people, we need to have a connection with Israel and with Jerusalem. So that's something I wanted to share with you. Before we go on, the gate is still over here.